Welcome to our homogenizer tutorial. This is our homogenizer machine right here, the Pulse 150. You can see it's these two machines. The one on the right is the homogenizer chamber, and the one on the left is the computer. So we turn it on by flipping the switch at the back, and then the display will pop up on the monitor. It's a touchscreen, so it'll pop up first with the menu of all the different settings we need. So that will show us all the settings for the test, but at the top right you'll see the set button that we can use to set those parameters for our own test. So you can see the power, that's how much power it puts in when it's vibrating. That should always be below 75%, that's the maximum value for our horn. Probe is which horn we're using, that should always be at 6 because that's our only horn. Pulse on and pulse off is the amount of time that the horn is vibrating ultrasonically and the amount of time it's resting. Pulse off should always be larger than pulse on to not damage the machine or your sample. Then program time is just how long it will run. And alarm temperature is to give you an alert if the temperature rises above a certain threshold, because some samples may rise in temperature significantly while the homogenizer is running. So this should always be 2 to 3 degrees above room temperature, otherwise it'll give you an alarm and then it won't let you run your sample. So you can see inside the chamber we have this little probe off to the side, that's our temperature probe, which it uses for the alarm temperature. So to use that you will need it in your sample, but it cannot touch the probe, nothing touches the probe. So then once we're done setting all of our settings for our test, we can hit the run button at the bottom right, which will not start the test. It will only take us back to the home screen where we can start the test. So now we need to put our sample in. This should be between 50 to 500 milliliters. Really, the important part is that the horn can fit inside it. That can be submerged 2 to 3 centimeters while still having plenty of room at the bottom and sides so that it's never near any of the solid surfaces, because it's very delicate and pretty much any physical contact with another solid object may damage it if you're not careful. So just make sure nothing ever touches it. So just set your sample on this blue chamber, on this blue platform, and raise it up by loosening it with the black knob at the back and sliding it along that silver rod until it's roughly in position with the probe. This doesn't have to be perfect, because afterwards you can adjust it slightly on the platform. So once you've got it locked back in place, you can adjust it slightly to make sure it's perfectly centered. And then you can put the temperature probe in. Since this is just a trial of water, we aren't going to bother, but that should also be in your sample, not touching the horn. Yep. So then over here we just hit run to go back to the home screen, and from here we can hit start in the bottom right. And that will start our test. If you look closely, you can see some small bubbles forming in the liquid occasionally. That is when the pulse is on, and that tells you it's homogenizing. In your actual test, you'll also hear a high-pitched sound. At high powers, this sound might be potentially harmful, and so if you're going to operate the machine at a high power rate, you should wear some kind of air protection. So then while it's running, with the option as well to stop or pause it before it runs to completion. So once it's done, we just lower it like we raised the platform and take our sample out, being careful not to ever touch or bump the horn. Once you're done testing, you'll also need to clean the probe. This should be done by running it again in an appropriate solvent or deionized water, and then using something like a chem wipe, a lint-free cloth, to very delicately dry it off so that no corrosion forms. So then once you're done, just turn it off again, and thank you for watching.